All right, a Supreme Court decision further exposes Democrat power as a house of cards. Let's check it out. Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Yesterday's Supreme Court decision on Calais, returning our voting laws to the Constitution and banning gerrymandering by race, highlighted yet another way the Democrat Party is manipulating the system to get power. Most Americans would objectively look at the modern Democrat platform and wonder how these people ever win elections. It is a good question. They deliver crime, filth. They gloat about raising taxes on the American people. They fight valiantly for the anarchy of no borders. The vast majority of Americans want none of what they have to offer. But manipulations of the system, gaming it, some would say cheating, are a big part of how Democrats stay in power. And on Wednesday, one of those manipulations was eviscerated by the Supreme Court. No more racial gerrymandering. Democrats can no longer manufacture their own congressional districts under the guise of racial equity as an excuse. And that's exactly what they had been doing for a very long time, counting on enough white guilt in this country that nobody would push back. Finally, that ended. And of course, the moment was met with fury.
The Supreme Court did the democracy a terrible disservice today. This is Jim Crow in new clothes.
We, as a democracy, are sinking. And we're doing that with the Supreme Court putting weights on our ankles.
Now I have to tell my children that they have less civil rights than I did. That is disgusting, despicable, and I am devastated by this particular Supreme Court decision.
Yeah. She'll be talking about something else tomorrow, don't worry. What really happened yesterday, and they all know this, by the way, is that the black vote became a lot less valuable to the Democrat Party, which has depended on it for the last 60 years. Racial gerrymandering is part of a grift that we've been watching for far too long. Democrats manufacturing race issues, pushing victimhood, poisoning the culture, keep them down, keep them victims, trading their souls for government freebies. That's how that party has operated for a very long time. And in this country, black conservatives who speak out against this are called Uncle Toms. Well, the real Uncle Toms are black Democrats getting rich in Washington off the machine that has decimated black culture since LBJ put in place the machinations that destroyed their communities. Listen to the Democrat Congressional Black Caucus feel the rage as the scam ends.
This fight is not just about black America. It is about the future of American democracy itself.
Obviously, this ruling today has a devastating blow to our democracy.
Affirmative action is gone. Diversity is gone. Equity gone. Inclusion gone. Racial tolerance gone. The Voting Rights Act largely gone. But guess what, extremists? We're still here.
That's right.
And we're not going anywhere.
And there you have it. Are we equal or not? Is a great question to ask the Democrat Party's race grifters. Are we equal or are we not? It is far more profitable for the Democrat Party for us to never, ever be equal. Remember that with every single thing they say, every single bill they propose, that is the plan. And how ironic to be told by a cadre of black millionaires that this country is so racist and blacks are still enslaved by our system. And we can't dismantle any of this. It's just another scam for power from a party that has so many, of course, whether it's NGOs pumping our country with immigrants to explode our welfare rolls and build a future constituency of voters for themselves, or elite Democrats threatening whistleblowers to keep their mouths shut about billions of dollars in fraud money being dumped right back into their coffers. Think of all the scams we see. The endless push to get illegal immigrants on the voter rolls while reducing our election integrity down to the level of a third world country. That from Los Angeles today, a council member pushing for illegals to be able to vote in LA city and county elections. A new one out also this week, the Biden administration funneling $90 million to Planned Parenthood despite ineligibility from back during the Biden administration. That money comes right back into their pockets, just shoveling money to an NGO. They know they get it all right back. That's your money that they're using to keep themselves in power. So many different scams. Just like the money from the $400 billion Inflation Reduction Act, which skyrocketed inflation and has caused so much of the unaffordability that we're all suffering through for the last 6 years. Democrats dumping money onto green energy companies, with much of it coming right back to them to keep them in power. It's all a party built by scams. Without those scams, they'd have to create a platform that benefits you. It doesn't benefit them. They don't want to do that. Political analyst Katie Zacharia joins us now. Ben Ferguson, host of the Ben Ferguson Show. Good to have you both here. Ben, the Supreme Court decimating a very powerful grift by the Democrat Party, and they are very upset about that.
Yeah, it's about time. And look, this is a party, then what they understand is they need to be able to control people, and they need to be able to have people dependent on them. They do not need Americans to be able to succeed. Look at the corruption that we see on almost every program that involves Democrats. It's about going after the weakest among us and then keeping them held down. Look at the corruption we've seen with food stamps that's come out in the last week and a half. Massive fraud, billions and billions of dollars. And how did Democrats exploit it? They said, hey, we're going to change the rules in the states. It's not about eligibility anymore, right? It's not about income. It's about, are you on government aid? Well, they said in many of these states that if you take a pamphlet from the government that is, quote, government aid, then you automatically are approved for food stamps. That's buying votes. And so when you look at redistricting, what do? They try to do things in a way where they can control people. They try to control them through government aid, through Obama phones. Remember that program back in the day? It's about buying votes. They did it in Minneapolis, right? We look the other way on fraud. And then we have a hearing on fraud, and the governor doesn't show up. Why did he not show up on Tuesday? Because he knew it was happening. It was the kickback coming in from the program. You mentioned it with NGOs. It's all kickbacks. It's buying votes. It should be illegal, and yet the Democratic Party is upset every time it gets exposed, and they lose that power.
Yeah, I saw a great tweet today. It just popped in my head. It was basically, if you tax someone and take $70,000 from them and then give 7 people $10,000, that's essentially how politics works in America today, and that's exactly right. You're just stealing and paying people off to win elections.
And buy votes.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Katie, I want to play Kamala Harris for you. Take a listen.
They have had an agenda that has been in place for decades to get to this very moment and beyond, which is to make it so difficult for the people to vote that they won't. They're so damn scared of losing the midterms.
This from a party that treats, inner city communities like filing cabinets full of black votes. They walk in, they come out with thousands of them. People don't even know what they voted for, and they all go to the Democrat Party. That's her response, Katie.
Well, Kamala is terrified of actually exposing what has always been that there are millions of illegal votes that have been happening. We're experiencing out here in California. And to your point, nobody wants to see the fraud. They had the Nick Shirley Act out in California to basically keep people from exposing this fraud. And you said it, Rob. If the Democrats don't have fraud, if they don't have criminal illegal aliens voting, if they don't have all of these gaslighting techniques, they don't win an election. And so they are desperately trying to cover this up. And what Kamala is saying is, and what she's speaking to, this was a 6-3 opinion from the Supreme Court of the United States. The major concurring opinion was from Justice Thomas, scorching the entire Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. What is she even talking about? She has not one leg to stand on here.
No, she doesn't. And Ben, this went viral in the aftermath as they were screaming and crying about all of this. Look at New England's congressional districts, which just show it's just amazing in the Northeast, deep in the Northeast. Not a single red seat. I mean, New Hampshire voted 48% for Donald Trump. I think Trump has won New Hampshire. Not one red seat anywhere to be found.
Yeah, that's gerrymandering. Look at the screen, America. That is gerrymandering 101. And Democrats have been doing this for years. And now they're upset that Republicans are like, hold on a second. What would it really look like if we weren't counting many illegal immigrants when we look at the census numbers, right?
Yeah.
How many extra seats they have in California because of that? Maybe it's time for us to start defending ourselves and doing this the right way. So I want this to be fair. It's not fair.
No.
Democrats made it not fair. And so if you want to fight back, that's what we're doing now. We've woken up to your game. You guys were playing chess. We were playing honest checkers.
Yep.
Now we're in the chess game. Welcome to the real world, folks, because we're coming for you.
Real quick, want to get to this because it's a big story. A new report out today from a DOJ task force revealing how forcefully the Biden administration went after Christians in this country. It said that they generally tolerated religious beliefs, but zealously pursued actions to limit Christians' ability to act in accordance with their faith. The DOJ pursued aggressively prosecutions against nonviolent pro-life Christian demonstrators, went after monitored Catholics with no criminal history. They went after churches and pastors as well. You know, Katie, the Marxists always go after the churches. They go after the religion first.
Well, that's what's happening in New York right now. They went after the Catholic nuns who were treating dying cancer patients, and they've targeted them because they're not, rightfully honoring LGBTQ DEI garbage that they want. And this is the same old tactics. They're looking for this to eliminate kind of the majority opinion on issues in the United States, Rob. It's just disgusting. And Joe
Religious
Biden,
bigotry.
DOJ, what we're hearing right now of Todd Blanche is going after Comey. Yeah, because Comey did something extremely terrible and put out a terrible message to the president, the former FBI director. Yet Joe Biden was going after Christians and there was no outrage. I'm sick and tired of it, Rob.
Never forget, this last administration was the administration that took and tried to get Catholics to spy on Catholics. They went into the Catholic Church and asked Catholics to spy on their own. That is what happens in places like Russia, not supposed to be happening in America.
From our Catholic president that believed in abortion until the 9th month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great point.
Katie, Zacharia, Ben Ferguson, good to see you guys. Thanks so much. All right, Billy Nungesser is the lieutenant governor of Louisiana, joins us now, a state that just canceled its House primaries in light of the Supreme Court's decision. Sir, you're shaking your head. Let's start there.
Yeah, we went to this closed primary for a few select congressional Senate races, the Bessie Board, and a Public Service Commission. Mass confusion over who can vote. We've always been under open primary. This on top of that, I think, is going to confuse voters even more. Who are they going to the polls to vote for?
So explain what's happening in your state in light of the decision by the Supreme Court. Explain what's happening right now. It sounds like you got a lot going on.
Yeah, well, the governor has ruled that he's canceling the elections. Their legal team, I guess, told them that they can't go forward with maps that have been ruled unconstitutional. So he's canceling those elections. I guess he will call a special session and then come up with some new maps. You would think they would have some maps ready to go, thinking this decision was coming down, which will delay calling a special session, which I guess the legislature will do later this year with the new maps.
I mean, the District 6 in your state, we can show a prime example of this affirmative action gerrymandering is what I've been calling it. It's, a ridiculous looking district, but this kind of stuff is all over the South. Race-based. It's very much against kind of the idea of this country that all are created equal. We don't play these kinds of games in this country, but they basically weaponized, I think, Section 2 of the VRA, and they've been counting on for a very long time enough guilt in this country that nobody would fight back against it, even though it's blatantly unconstitutional. Your thoughts?
Absolutely, and it's not fair to the people.
No.
You look at the one in Louisiana. Whoever's running don't even get to those ends of the district. You can't fairly represent your people when you're snaking all across Louisiana and representing the farmers in the north, the fishermen in the south. It just doesn't. It doesn't give the people good representation.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. We're going to keep an eye on your state, sir. What a moment we've just gone through. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, the regime is reeling. Next, the extent of the economic damage from Trump's blockade on Iran. Then later in news from the left, hilarious moment from Trump in the Oval Office concerned about his look in a bulletproof vest.
I don't know if I can handle looking 20 pounds heavier.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
Mike Hammond of Signal Relief. We've helped nearly 700,000 feel relief in their back, shoulders, and knees with our technology. But for many of us, it's our feet that hurt. And when they hurt, our walks get shorter, activities are skipped, and the moments we love start slipping away. That's why we created the Signal Step, a patent-pending insole built using the same proven technology people already trust from Signal Relief. Signal uses no drugs. There's nothing on the market like it. It's relief without the side effects. It's reusable, fits virtually into any shoe, and in a recent study, over 85% felt relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Feel relief with every step. If you're hurting, go to signalstep.com and get relief today.
Finally, your GLP-1 is as easy to take as a mint, no needles. Compounded tirzepatide is a mint-flavored tablet that dissolves under your tongue. It helps curb appetite and reduce cravings, including for sweets and carbs, making it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. Getting started is easy and surprisingly accessible with a quick online physician consultation.
Save $50 with code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Welcome back. Signs Trump's naval blockade is financially decimating the regime. The oil exports out of Iran falling more than 80%, according to oil analytics firm Vortexa. Just a handful of oil container ships carrying Iranian crude have managed to get around this blockade since April 13th. And those were more likely in the early days of it when they were still trying to set it up and get it tight. President Trump also briefed, by the Pentagon on new military options in Iran as negotiations over a deal remain deadlocked. Trump seems disinterested in a less than perfect deal at this point because he has the ability to just sit back like we're doing right now and starve the regime out of power. We're not doing much. Not a lot going on. Everybody's just kind of sitting around while Iran runs out of money. CENTCOM offering a plan, though, for a wave of short and powerful strikes hitting infrastructure targets, get the Islamic regime back to the table if needed. Trump also given another option to take parts of the Strait of Hormuz, completely reopening commercial shipping for everybody else while keeping Iran blocked off. That would be the way you get back to $60 crude oil and also Iran shutting down. That'd be the best option, but that would also require ground troops. Not sure they want to go that direction. Here was the president today.
They're going to either have a nuclear weapon or they're not. And if they're not, they're in big trouble, even bigger than they are right now. And right now, their economy is collapsing. Inflation's at close to 100%. Their equivalent of our dollar is non-existent. I mean, it's literally non-existent. And they can't do any oil because we have a blockade that's 100% effective. So they can't sell oil. That's $500 million a day. $500 million a day.
All right. Former Navy Lieutenant Commander and mine specialist Tom Sauer joins us now. Good to see you, sir. I spoke to the president earlier this week. He seemed fine with just continuing the blockade, sitting back and watching the regime starve out. What do you think should be done here in this moment?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No, I mean, really. This is classic Mahanian strategy. So one of the books that they give you when you start at the U.S. Naval Academy, where I went to school a while ago, and it's still up on my bookshelf above me here, is The Influence of Sea Power Upon History, right? And this is, 19th century work, but it is still perfectly relevant today. A blockade is about stopping, sea lines of communication, SLOCs, as we say. And the thing is, the Strait of Hormuz is a key SLOC, sea line of communication, for obviously tons of commerce, 20% of the world's oil, et cetera. We've all heard this. But the thing is, a blockade is a classic naval strategy that you can use to choke off the economy. And you know what? The thing is like it's not costing us very much. Obviously, yes, we've got 3 carrier strike groups on station, and you've got about 4,000 or 5,000 U.S. Marines floating around in the Arabian Sea, sweating their asses off and really upset that they might not get the chance to kill anybody this year.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. is that what it comes down to is, look, it's just sit back and wait. This is a strategy where we have no boots on the ground, but we still have a boot in Iran's neck.
Yeah. What do you think a timeline looks like? That's the million-dollar question, right? How long does it take Iran to actually start to starve out of power? Because, we keep hearing days before they're going to run out of money and they're going to the oil and, they're going to have to shut down the rigs and everything. But what do you think a realistic timeline is?
That is a very good question, and I'm sure that I could throw out a number, and it might not be long enough, or it might be too long. But if I had to guess, I would probably say sometime in June. But it's going to get worse as long as we show the Iranians that we're not going anywhere, and that's something that Donald Trump has really made it clear. He's just said, like, I'm not planning on doing anything, and made no indication of any sign of backing off of it at all, and just to give the Iranians the idea, like, this is not going to get any better. So, yeah, maybe another month or two. And the thing is, it is different, though, because it might just be the factor of the Iranians just don't really, the Iranian regime, doesn't really care. They'll let their country starve, and it could be longer. It's going to take some time, but I think right now the answer is to sit back. Could there be some strikes? Sure, there could be. But the biggest thing think about the cost, the military cost, the price of gas. I understand those are valid concerns. But what is a far worse concern is if you had a nuclear-armed Iran that did control the strait. That would be a very, very negative game changer, not just for us, but for the GCC and the rest of the world.
Well said. Tom Sauer, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, my pal.
All right. Standing by Jimmy Kimmel, ABC now fully owning its reputation as a network for just half of this country. Got that next with Rick and Ed.
I think ABC is putting themselves in great jeopardy.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.
IRS. 3 letters that strike fear into everyone, and for good reason. The IRS is the most powerful collection agency on earth, and being in debt to the IRS can have serious consequences. Oftentimes it begins with the IRS sending you a collection letter, but then escalates, and before you know it, you're having your paychecks garnished, your bank account seized, even your home or business could be at risk.
My problem was I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I was trying to take on the IRS by myself. I have 5 children, I'm trying to take care of my kids, and it was a lot of stress.
I owed the IRS over $10,000. They told me the possibilities of garnishing my wages to resolve this debt that I owed them.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. Well, there was nothing I could do about it. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
These stories are all too common, but thankfully, there's Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 most trusted tax resolution firm. Optima's experts have helped thousands of people with stories just like these resolve their tax debt.
I owe $15,000. I only had to pay $3,500, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything. It was easy, like 1, 2, 3.
Since I've settled everything with the IRS, with Optima Tax help, I'm going to be able to succeed instead of just worry.
They sent the paperwork in for the debt to be cleared, the liens to be taken off. Now I'm a happy camper now. If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call.
So don't wait. Today you have options. Tomorrow you might not. Optima's tax professionals are standing by, ready to help you now.
For a free consultation, call 800-375-1215. That's 800-375-1215.
Optima Tax Relief.
Meet Will Markham, a true American hero. This decorated veteran earned the Silver Star.
I had more weight on me. I was in such extreme pain. I was drinking more. I was taking more pain pills. But when I started using Hempana, it was literally like a miracle. There's no more anxiety. There's no more anger. There's no more pain. It's an incredible product.
Hempana is now available at Walmart and on Amazon with free shipping with an annual donation supporting the Patriot Fund. Go to Walmart or Amazon.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Kimmel Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. It helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Kimmel, the brand I trust.
When my mother heard about Pure Talk's latest offer, she said, Michael, that's a third of what I'm paying my current provider. How's that even possible? I said, Ma, your current provider spent $12 billion last year on advertising and promotion. Pure Talk hired me to make a few commercials on my iPhone. That's why you can get unlimited talk and text with plenty of data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $25 a month. You're welcome. Pure Talk, everything you need, nothing you don't.
It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well.
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
It was 1 week ago tonight that Jimmy Kimmel's nightly Trump-obsessed neurotic monologue contained that joke claiming the president would soon die and his wife was glowing because he would soon be gone. Trump-hating ABC, a broadcast network that is now run by radical left lunatics, standing by Kimmel in this moment. Of course they are. Disney and ABC are completely captured by the ideological left. This after an assassination attempt just 48 hours later after that joke became a reminder of just how despicable Kimmel's show really has become. Melania blasting Kimmel as a coward. She doesn't usually speak out much, but she spoke out this time. She called on Disney and ABC to take a stand. The president has said the same, responding to Kimmel in a phone call with Greta Van Susteren today. Take a listen.
He's a lowlife, whether he apologized or not. He's a lowlife. He always has been. He shouldn't be on television. I don't know how a guy can be on television where the network gets free airwaves from the United States government and spend 100% of his time knocking Republicans and conservatives and Trump, 100% of his time. He's not a funny guy. I think ABC is putting themselves in great jeopardy. They've already paid me $16 million. George Slopadopoulos said things that were untrue, and they had to pay me $16 million.
So he makes the point that we've been talking about a lot lately, which is that, again, yeah, this is a federal broadcast network. These are federal airwaves that ABC is using. And again, it's not just Kimmel. This starts in the morning. Stephanopoulos runs the newsroom, and that's GMA. You get to 11 o'clock in the morning, you get, I think it's 2 hours long, The View, isn't it? Is it an hour or two? I can't remember. You get that. That's pure propaganda all the way through. And then you get to Kimmel at night. The entire network is working against one of two parties in a two-party system. How in the world are we letting this happen? The FCC trying to fight back, ordering the review of TV licenses for 8 ABC stations, including the biggest affiliates, New York, LA, Chicago, Philadelphia. Newsmax hosts Ed Henry, Rick Leventhal join us now to talk about all this. Guys, good to have you. Ed, we'll start with you. It's something that ABC still exists in the current form that it's in, and that we're allowing that.
Yeah, I mean, of course we're for free speech, but what you just laid out is a lineup where it's indistinguishable between ABC News and entertainment, opinion, all politics, all anti-Trump. And I think Brendan Carr learned a lesson from the first round when Jimmy Kimmel made the ridiculous joke about the Charlie Kirk assassination and got suspended, was off the air. There's a lot of pressure on him. And remember, Carr did an interview where he said, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. And that made it seem heavy-handed from the administration. And it turned Kimmel into a sympathetic figure, which obviously is a very hard thing to do. Not a very sympathetic figure. But he latched onto that to save his job. That's why I think this time from the White House and top people like Brendan Carr, you're just going to see just the facts, ma'am. Yeah. This was a tasteless, disgusting joke about Melania Trump potentially being a widow. And they're going to go after these broadcast licenses factually and not give opinions and not hand Kimmel some way out of this.
Yeah, and you know, Rick, I mean, for me, it's I don't mind jokes. I don't mind offensive jokes. If Jimmy Kimmel were telling these jokes about in a bipartisan fashion, none of this would really be problematic to me. But the point is this: Jimmy Kimmel has hijacked this show and turned it into propaganda for the Democrat Party, which is what ABC does morning, noon, and night now as a network. That is where my issue lies, and I think that is a really big issue because I think these broadcast networks are propagandizing millions of people in this country.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I agree with Ed, and I agree with the president. Okay, free speech does matter, obviously, but there are limits. And Kimmel is on a broadcast network, and he has to abide by certain rules, but he's not. And he's a one-trick pony, and he went way over the line more than once. And what he said about Melania, he can try and explain it away any way he wants. But the fact is, he said what he said, and 2 days later, there was another attempt on the president's life. And he had every opportunity on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to come out and say, you know what? I shouldn't have made that joke. It wasn't funny. And in light of the recent events, it was really inappropriate, and I'm sorry. But did we hear that? Was there ever an apology from Kimmel? A real apology, not even about Charlie Kirk. The whole thing is disgusting. And I agree, the guy should be sanctioned, disciplined, and maybe taken off the air.
Yeah, I do too. I think he's gotten so arrogant about it as well, and he just doesn't care any longer. It's just ridiculous. And again, in a two-party system, you can't have these networks just fully propagandizing an audience in one direction. You just can't have it. I want to show one more thing. After the White House Correspondents' the dinner shooting last weekend, the president sat down with Norah O'Donnell over at CBS. She made a decision to read this particular line from the manifesto. Take a listen.
The so-called manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this, quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person.
I mean, I think the best part of that, as ridiculous as that moment was, Ed, is that she sits there and goes, oh, you think he was talking about you? Which is just a spectacular gaslight. Yeah.
Right, because she was trying to pin the president down, that he was saying this about you. Then when he answers her question, she says, oh, you feel it was about you. That was a ridiculous part, you're right, but it was also far more ridiculous to platform. Use CBS News, this big audience with 60 Minutes, to platform this hate, these lies, this vile content that some deranged individual was using to somehow try to justify a potential assassination of the president and anybody in that room like you. It's outrageous.
Just to even put that, it's beyond ridiculous. Rick, final thought.
You're going to give this nut job the platform that he wanted so desperately. You're going to read the words of an obviously deranged individual on network television on 60 Minutes of all places. It was completely irresponsible. I won't even say that guy's name on my show because that's what he wants. He wants notoriety, and I'm not going to give it to him, and nobody else should either. Her reading from his manifesto was disgusting.
I think it's them lashing out a little bit at the Ellisons purchasing at CBS, saying, oh, we still have independence to do the crazy stuff we've been doing for years. Ed Henry, Rick Leventhal, good to see you both. Thanks so much.
Good to see you.
Trump ready to release the UFO files, he says. Let the chips fall where they may. This could be very interesting, and it comes as Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna claims the existence of proof of interdimensional beings in a deeply compartmented facility in our government. Proof she says she has seen. We have the NASA administrator joining us coming up next.
I switched.
I switched. I switched.
I switched to Newsmax.
Newsmax. Newsmax.
Have you made the switch?
You bet I did. My whole family switched.
Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Do you know which investment has outperformed almost every other asset class since the beginning of last year? And that Goldman Sachs research is now forecasting to reach further heights. That's right, it's gold. Central banks around the world continue to buy gold at record levels due to economic turmoil, foreign conflicts, and a weakening U.S. economy plagued by debt. If you're concerned how to protect yourself as our financial system weakens, our team at Swiss America has a solution. For over 40 years, we've helped people just like you purchase precious metals for home delivery and for your IRAs. Don't miss out before this next big price jump. Call or text Swiss America at the number on your screen to receive your free portfolio review and a copy of The Timeless Truth About Gold and Silver. Let us show you how easy it is to safeguard your money. Call or text Swiss America today.
Hi, I'm Troy Aikman. With 3 Super Bowl titles, I know winning teams. And in live entertainment, Venue is that team. That's why I became a shareholder. Now they're offering Fire Suites. Absolute triple net real estate inside their world-class venues with an 11% annual rate of return. Stable, predictable, passive monthly income. Visit investvenue.com to learn more.
At Bright Star Care, our nurse-led care anticipates needs before they are voiced. We'll be there.
If you have wet AMD or DME, you never want to lose sight of the things you love. And your condition doesn't have to steal the moment. Long-lasting EYLEA HD delivers powerful vision improvements that can save your vision for the future. EYLEA HD is the only treatment for wet AMD and DME that helped at least 8 out of 10 people go up to 4 months between injections after 3 initial monthly treatments. Don't take EYLEA HD if you have an eye infection, eye pain, redness, or are allergic to it. Eye injections like EYLEA HD may cause eye infection, separation of the retina, rare but severe swelling of blood vessels in the eye, or increased eye pressure. There is an uncommon risk of heart attack or stroke. There's still so much to see. Ask about next generation EYLEA HD, a treatment retina specialists trust.
Oh no! Our water line broke. It could cost a fortune to get a contractor to come fix it, and it's not covered by homeowners insurance.
That's why you should have HomeServe.
It's Tom Rusin, CEO of HomeServe.
When your water line breaks, HomeServe sends a qualified contractor to fix it and pays for the covered repairs.
With HomeServe, the American dream of owning a home doesn't need to be a nightmare.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month.
Call 1-833-559-6598 or visit homeserve.com.
Do you have an update on the UFO files?
Well, I think we're going to be releasing as much as we can in the near future. It's been in the minds of people for a long time. They want to find out about the UFOs and anything having to do with UFO or related material, and we're going to be releasing a lot of things that we have. I've interviewed people, my first term primarily, but I interviewed some pilots, and they said they saw things that you wouldn't believe.
So a White House update there on releasing and declassifying the government's UFO files. Of course, that question came in this moment while the president was hosting astronauts from the Artemis 2 mission, which was entertaining yesterday. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, we should tell you this, recently discussing unidentified anomalous phenomenon, explicitly says that she doesn't use the word aliens, referring to them as interdimensional beings instead. Luna says there's evidence in a sensitive compartmented information facility that leads her to believe that there are things that we cannot explain. Also stating there are things she has personally observed that are of non-human origin and creation. So with that, and also to talk about Artemis 2 as well, we have Jared Isaacman here, the NASA administrator. It's good to have you again on the show. We're going to get to UFOs here in just a second, of course. But first, I want to start with Artemis 2. The president talked about the space race earlier in the Oval Office. Here's what he had to say.
Now we've leapfrogged. We're way ahead of. Space was like we were third. China was first. Russia was second. Now we've leapfrogged. We're way ahead of China. We're way ahead of Russia, and we made some great choices.
That's a huge compliment, I think, for NASA that NASA is helping to bring to the United States. Can you elaborate that a little bit more and talk about Artemis 2 as well?
Absolutely. Well, yeah. The president's absolutely spot on this. I mean, we've had presidents for 35 years call for America's return to the moon. It wasn't until President Trump's first term, where he created the Artemis program that ultimately Artemis 2 became the first crewed mission of which. My first day on the job after I was confirmed, the president signed a national space policy that said pick up where Apollo 17 left off. Don't just return to the moon, but do so to stay. Build an enduring presence, build a moon base, and master the skills necessary to someday go to Mars. And we're hard at work. And the best part is we got the resources to do it. The Working Family Tax Cut Act gave us $10 billion in supplemental funding to get the job done.
Wow.
Artemis 2 is just the opening act. You'll see Artemis 3 next year. We'll test out the spacecraft and the landers in Earth orbit. And then you'll see Artemis 4 in 2028. And that's when American boots are back on the moon.
Let me ask you this, because you know that there's conspiracies about the moon landing. We've all heard this for a very long time. You know, the people that make the claim, one of their biggest arguments is that the difficulty right now in doing it again, right? And the fact that we just basically lassoed the moon, we didn't land. How do you answer those people? I'm sure you know some of them as well that think that it was all just a ruse back in the 70s.
Well, so I understand, but this is not just limited to returning American astronauts to the moon. If you think about it, a lot of the big, bold endeavors that kind of defined us as a nation from decades past, we've struggled with, whether it's building new nuclear power plants, you know, big infrastructure projects. That's why I love President Trump's Trump-class battleships, because we got a problem building ships in this country. So why not start setting big, bold endeavors again and start achieving them? My point is, it's not just limited to NASA, but we are back on the track. If you want, you know, the conclusive proof, we've left laser reflectors on the moon. Heck, our satellites have observed, pieces of the landing vehicle from the LEM, from the Apollo era. I've spoken to the astronauts who've walked on the moon, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Harrison Schmitt. A moon rock that Harrison Schmitt picked up off the lunar surface on Apollo 17's in my office, along with some of their gloves. We definitely did it, but we owe it to the American people to go back. We're doing that now at NASA.
And so that explains it, that you know, it's difficult. We kind of went off the track for a number of years. We're getting back on the track. We're going to figure it out. We're going to be there in a matter of a couple of years.
You know what? It's lack of competition, honestly. And, you know, competition is good between companies that we depend on now to build us capabilities to go back. But competition among nations is a great thing.
And this was a great start. What we just saw, the Artemis 2 mission, was a tremendous success. I mean, that was top to bottom. You guys nailed it.
We did. I mean, we sent those 4 amazing human beings farther into space than ever before, and it was a very clean mission.
It was a beautiful thing to see. I mean, I still remember the picture. I think he took it with his iPhone from the far side of the moon, seeing the Earth. Was it the Earth set, they called it?
It was an Earth set.
That was so cool.
And we also had a solar eclipse up there, one of my favorites. I mean, what a beautiful picture with the solar panels from the spacecraft in it, you know, something that human hands made alongside the backdrop of a universe that was being made for billions of years. Pretty wild.
And you didn't find any alien substations on the backside of the moon or anything like that? Everybody talks about the dark side of the moon.
No pyramids there, no Sphinx on the backside of the moon. But I fully support the president and his goal to put all the information out there. I love what he's talking about right now. Grateful to support
that was where I was going to go next, is that this idea of doing a release here, releasing the UFO data. And I want you to respond to what Anna Paulina Luna, who's a frequent guest on the show, she's a pretty sensible congresswoman. We talked to her a lot about a lot of issues. She says there's stuff in a highly compartmented area. You've been at NASA for a while. You've been in charge of a major agency of NASA. Do you think that there could be something there that's being concealed for the American people that we're going to learn about? Do you think that we know more than we've let on for all these years? Is that possible?
Well, I'll tell you this. Well, first, I want to be very clear. I'm an astronaut. I've been to space twice. I run NASA as a space agency. I have not seen any evidence, proof of intelligent life that has visited us from out there. But it goes to the heart of what we do at NASA, is answering the question, are we alone? That said, I fully support what the president is trying to do, because the answer is, look, we've got camera phones, we've got sensors, we've got doorbell cams, and the reality is sometimes you do pick up various aerial phenomenon. And the president certainly has seen it. He makes reference to it. Yeah. These are not the discs, you know, with the aliens on board, but they're fascinating, and we should try and understand it, whether it's maybe our technology, maybe it's an adversary's technology, or maybe it is some sort of natural phenomenon we need to understand better. And I know the president's committed to putting it out there.
So you've never seen anything, but maybe there's something that exists. I guess we just have to wait and find out.
Well, NASA does participate in these conversations. I'm familiar with what's being referenced, but I haven't seen any bodies.
I got you. I know. It's something that I think there's something out there. I just think the vast expanse of space is so great that they're going to throw dirt in my face, and I'll never know. And that just to me is, I want to know. I want to know, and it just drives me crazy. I know it drives you crazy too. I think it for all of us.
I think that's
fascination. That's why you do it, right?
That's absolutely
That's exactly why you do it. Jared Isaacman, the NASA administrator, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
All right. Coming up here after the break, woke leaders of a Michigan town happily ripping down neighborhood watch signs, citing racism.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Hi, I'm Arthur Lee, CEO, inventor of LifeVac, the only FDA-cleared airway clearance device that saves a life in a choking emergency. Over 5,000 people a year choke to death, one child every 5 days. Please consider protecting your family, your business, your loved ones. Go to lifevac.net today.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet and exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. Liberal Ann Arbor, Michigan, looking to be more inclusive with a plan to welcome criminals. A unanimous 10-0 vote in the city council in December, resulting in the city completing and spending money to remove more than 600 neighborhood anti-crime watch signs. Like the little crime watch sign, they're taking those down, citing racism. Some of the woke Ann Arbor Democrat leaders front and center in this effort, right in front of you there, the mayor, city council members as well. Take a listen to their ridiculous words.
Briefly, neighborhood watch signs are expressions of exclusion, and they're inconsistent with their values. Ann Arbor is a welcoming community. We don't want to push people away.
You know, there are people that look like me and those from my community that have been questioned, quite frankly, in their own neighborhood.
It really harkens back to a time when public safety was about exclusion, was about monitoring and surveilling who belonged in a neighborhood and who did not. And that is not how we do public safety in Ann Arbor today.
Is it bad that you kind of want them to be robbed? Is that bad? An expression of exclusion, an anti-crime sign. Well, welcoming crime into your city. Amazing. Next up, now that Gavin Newsom is running for president, he no longer needs to gouge fire victims for their property taxes, it seems. saying that LA fire survivors who lost their homes shouldn't have to pay property taxes based on a value of a property that no longer exists. And today, his office finally urged LA County to defer payments without penalty. For 15 months, these people have been paying property taxes. Some people paying $5,000 a month in property taxes for a house that has burned down 15 months ago due to Gavin Newsom's incompetence and Karen Bass's incompetence. Yet Gavin always needed that money until now. But now he's being a good guy because he's done being the governor of California. Right. And finally, some of Trump's best moments are self-deprecating, like this one.
Is there talks about you potentially wearing a bulletproof vest moving forward, given you have now been shot at?
I don't know if I can handle looking 20 pounds heavier. These guys, they look so good. Some of these guys are physical specimens.
That's the thing about Trump. It's so much bravado all the time, right? That sometimes when he just shows himself to be human, a little self-deprecation, it just works, and it's so welcomed. All right, up next, what did the king accomplish here in the U.S.? Our next guest was in the Oval Office with the Royals last night. Stay tuned.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
Hungry Heart is here, and I needed it because my fridge is super empty.
It's so easy to just whip together a quick, healthy meal.
Head to hungryroot.com for healthy groceries and simple recipes. Plus, get free veggies for life.
Millions of people trust Prevagen for their brain.
I've been taking Prevagen for 4 years now. It's a life changer.
I've been taking Prevagen for 8 years now, and it's still helping me tremendously.
Well, I've been taking Prevagen, I know, for over 10 years.
Why do more people choose Prevagen year after year more than any other brain supplement?
Because it just works.
Prevagen is the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years. Prevagen, for your brain.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I let in the light to help see more of the light inside of me.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone, building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
Finally, your GLP-1 is as easy to take as a mint, no needles. Compounded tirzepatide is a mint-flavored tablet that dissolves under your tongue. It helps curb appetite and reduce cravings, including for sweets and carbs, making it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. Getting started is easy and surprisingly accessible with a quick online physician consultation.
Save $50 with code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
My heart has experienced life-changing wins, losses, and countless miles. To keep living at my speed, I trust Cunol CoQ10. CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist-recommended supplement for heart health. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Mike Hammond of Signal Relief. We've helped nearly 700,000 feel relief in their back, shoulders, and knees with our technology. But for many of us, it's our feet that hurt. And when they hurt, our walks get shorter, activities are skipped, and the moments we love start slipping away. That's why we created the Signal Step, a patent-pending insole built using the same proven technology people already trust from Signal Relief. Signal uses no drugs. There's nothing on the market like it. It's relief without the side effects. It's reusable, fits virtually into any shoe, and in a recent study, over 85% felt relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Feel relief with every step. If you're hurting, go to signalstep.com and get relief today.
All right, welcome back. The King and Queen of England wrapping up a U.S. tour, heading back home after a state dinner, a congressional speech, a trip here to New York. It was quite a trip. The president bidding farewell to the royals earlier today. Robert Hardman is a British journalist who's very close with the family. He was in the Oval Office with the president yesterday, and his new book about Queen Elizabeth, the first major biography since she passed, is out right now. It was actually endorsed by the president. You can see the picture of them there with Robert holding the book. The president writing, Robert Hardman, has written an amazing book about the incredible life of this beloved and deeply respected Queen Elizabeth II. Robert's book promises to be a must-read. Congratulations on what will soon be a bestseller. And Robert Hardman joins us now here on the set. Good to have you, sir.
Thank you, Rob.
You were with the King and Queen for this visit. And, what was the impact of it?
I think it's been a great healer, really, because, it's no secret that relations between the British government and Washington have not been great in recent months. But the president totally gets the fact that, the monarch is not a politician, works differently, isn't here doing policy. He's representing the whole of Britain. And it's just gone incredibly well. I mean, there was a real warmth of the opening speech at the White House by the president, very gracious words, all about sort of gratitude, really, to the sort of legacy as we approach the great 250th, and then warm words by the King, both in Congress and at the state banquet. It's been one of the best state visits in a long time, actually, and I've covered a few.
Tell me about the Oval Office. Was it last night you were in the Oval with the King?
Yes, very kindly. The president agreed to see me. I was supposed to see him last weekend to hand over a copy of my book. I went to see him 4 months ago in Mar-a-Lago to talk to him for the biography because, of course, he was the last state visitor of the late Queen's reign. Elizabeth II welcomed the president 2019, and then there were no more state visits because of COVID and her ill health. So he has a sort of historic place really in the royal story. And then he had a state visit last year with the King. So I went to see him 4 months ago. Had several interviews. It's in the book. I thought, well, I'll give him a book. So I couldn't see him last weekend because his schedule got torn up because of the shooting. And then suddenly yesterday I was told he'll see you tonight. So I got round to the White House.
Sure, that was pretty interesting. And they had a very close relationship, the president and the Queen, right? Did they just like each other? Did they just connect?
Yeah, they connected. And their first meeting, as the president told me, back in 2018, it was only an official visit. He was meant to have a cup of tea with her. It was only meant to last 15 minutes. And it went on for the best part of an hour. They really hit it off because they bonded, in fact, over Scotland. They both had Scottish mothers, and there was the Queen. I spoke to loads of people around her. She liked him. She said he was courteous and amusing. And he said, what
amusing sounds right.
Amusing for her. That's a big compliment, actually. You don't want to be boring. No. And he said what impressed him was at their first meeting. He said, I tried to get her to say, who's your favourite president? He said, I go, come on. Is it Reagan? Is it Eisenhower? And the Queen just said, they were all very nice.
Yeah, she's not going to pick a side.
She wasn't going to pick a side, and he liked that. And then, of course, he's got a great bond going with the King. Yeah. He had a lovely state visit to Britain last September, which he talked about.
He likes them, and you can tell when he likes somebody.
Yeah, and the state dinner at the White House this week was amazing. I mean, white tie, it was the first white tie dinner since the late Queen was here 19 years ago.
It looked spectacular. It looked spectacular. Robert Hardman, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. The book he's talking about, if you're fascinated by the Queen, she was a fascinating woman. Elizabeth II in private, in public, her story. That's the book right there, endorsed by the president. Finnerty is up next, and we will see you back here tomorrow.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.